Well, let's dive right in. Those are some great wins. Maryann, why don't you jump into the four laws of atomic habits?
Absolutely. Thank you. So I see there's a lot of people in here that were in our book club for Atomic Habits. You all know I'm obsessed with this book, and it has been truly life-changing for me over the past 7 years since the first time I read it. The book goes into lots of different things that we all know. He just puts them in such a great way that the way he describes it and just how he goes into breaking down habits and how easily it can be done. Basically says all habits should be one, make it obvious. It should be a habit that is clear, measurable, and concrete. Make it attractive. And that's basically pairing an activity with something else, like habit stacking. A habit stack is you stack a habit onto something else that you're already doing, such as, and I mentioned one of my habits this year was I stacked a gratitude journal onto my drinking my coffee every morning. So when I sit down and drink my coffee, I used to sit there and check emails or scroll social media. Starting January 1st, I started a gratitude journal, still doing it to this day. So that's just a good way to make it attractive for yourself. Make it easy, priming your environment and reducing friction, basically setting up your environment for the habit to happen. So if you want to do a workout the next morning, you set out your workout clothes the night before. If you don't want to, and I gave this example as well, if you don't want ice cream to be so readily available in your freezer, I put my ice cream in my garage freezer. So I have a little bit of friction to get to it. So it makes it harder to get to.
I love
And the
that, by
last
the
one,
way. You know how much I
yeah,
love that.
yeah, just a tiny little thing, but you know what? I don't want to have to go into the garage. So I'll just be like, I won't have ice cream tonight. And the last one is make it satisfying and giving yourself a reward for doing it. So for some people, it could be a habit tracker. We did give some resources at the end. So there are habit trackers in there. You can choose one that you like, where you kind of just check off every day. I personally like that. I like seeing the progress. We all like seeing that we're making some sort of progress. And the whole thing about this book is that they're atomic habits. So they're super tiny habits. They're supposed to start with 2 minutes or less. So you don't realize how getting 1% better every day eventually leads to momentous gains by the end of the year.
That's
Our
amazing.
next, yeah.
Yeah. I think before we jump into the next one, I think it's kind of important to kind of, I guess, to think about like how does this topic or how are we or like attaching this to what we do in a day-to-day, personal, professional, whatever that may be. And I think that's kind of where we hear is when it comes to four laws and the way that James Clear in this book has identified as Maryann said, it's so easy. Think about it. I mean, to make a good habit or like to implement a good habit, you have to make it obvious, attractive, easy, satisfying. Now turn it around. For any habit that is a bad habit, you have to make it like not measurable, not attractive. You have to make it
Correct.
difficult. You have to make
Yeah.
it unsatisfying because we got 24 hours in a day and there's already so many things that we're already doing. So for us to fit in something or for us to start something new, we're going to have to, kind of like make a space for it. And I think that's kind of like the role this book is playing overall, which leads us to this next slide is to kind of like why we're bringing this up is because a lot of time what we forget is we're thinking when we think about habits and stuff, we're thinking about more of like outcome focused. So because we're thinking, okay, I want to achieve this, or this is my goal. But I think what James here talks about it, and think about it from our day-to-day stuff too, and even at work too. It's about outcomes, but outcome you have to focus on. Okay, what are the outcomes? Then what's the process that I'm going to have to create to get to that outcome to achieve an identity that I'm trying to create? So the center of everything is an identity, and you can't have more than one identity. And I think that's
Right.
that's kind of the goal, and that's what we're talking about. So for people that are looking to break into CS, people that are looking to maybe grow their careers right now, people that are looking to find another opportunity, or people that are trying to do better, like have a work-life balance, people that are looking to be, have a mentally, physically fit. I don't know. I'm thinking out loud here, but it's an identity that you're trying to create. And I think that's what he talks about is don't go outside in, go inside out. So think about identity that you're trying to create first. So even, for me specifically, I talked about yoga challenges earlier today because I am trying to create this identity so that I am someone who does yoga every day. That's the identity I'm trying to create. So for that, to Maryann's point, I make it easier with the, I've got my mat, pulled out, I've got my alarm set. And even my yoga teacher tells me, don't think about that you want to attend a whole session. Just think about, it's a virtual class that I take. So it's like, I am just going to go and log in the morning. That is it. That is all I'm trying to do. That is my goal. That's the process that I'm going to have to create for me to get to that, okay, so that I can do it continuously and that I can create that identity. So I think that's what it is. And it's like habit stacking plays, it plays a vital role, because then you're going to want to stack it one after another. Okay, I wake up, I do this, and then I get on my yoga mat. After that, I've got my, so it's like you really have your system. Like, what is your system? That's what we're trying to create. Yeah. And that's been so magical in this book, and it resonates with our personal and professional life.
And it's easy to stack things on once you've already started stacking. Like, once you have that system down, then you can stack it onto anything. It could be in the morning, in the evening, in the middle of the day. When you sit at your desk, there's lots of different places you can stack something on. That takes less than 2 minutes. Like you said, just logging on takes less than 2 minutes, and it's easy to stack.
Yeah, and I think it's key to kind of focus on one thing at a time, because I think so many times we're like, there's all these things we want to do. I think that sets you up for potential, disappointment, right? Because we can't be all things to everybody. And why don't, just making one little change, and making one little action to get you to that ultimate change can be, again, that 1% better that he talks about in the book. So it can make all the difference.
Absolutely. When you look back, when you look back and see how many times you've done it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Anything in the chat? Sorry, I can't really read the chat with because I'm sharing my slides, but I want to see if there's something to share. We can have someone come off mute and share as well. Nope. All right. Maybe I'll move on.
So, Taz, I think you had something.
Yeah.
Taz.
Thank you.
I know we were chatting on this, and I just wanted to give a big shout out to Michael Hill, who has very generously put together a link in our chat as well. But when I was going through a very intense period of trying to understand what part of my behavior I needed to change, what things I could do better, going through some of those Notion pages and just looking at the resources that Mike put together was phenomenal. So I thought I was doing everything right, but seeing how somebody else was doing it just helped me kind of restructure things that I was doing, make it a little better, and try out this formula. And for me, it made a huge impact. And it was at the point where I felt the lowest. I didn't really get that many, email responses or interview callbacks, but just kind of taking a pause, a breather, and just reevaluating everything helped me a lot. So just a quick shout out, and then just kind of tie into, how sometimes behavior is related to what you think is your identity, and then just kind of reevaluating from a fresh perspective.
That's awesome.
I love that. Thank you for sharing.
And thank you, Michael, for sharing that document.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Mike deserves a whole bunch of kudos and lots. I can talk for hours about how phenomenal this was for me. So I look like I'm in the fan club, but I don't think, before this, I've had a chance to tell Michael one-on-one. But I'm glad that it's in a bigger forum and that everybody can see, and hopefully somebody can get just as much value out of it like I did.
That is super cool. Amazing. Thank you so much. And the check is in the mail. So thank you for
Yes.
Awesome. Trevor, what about you? You had your hand up.
Yeah, one of the things that I like about, what you guys have in terms of setting up your space and making sure that you have things sort of set up for you to enact the change and the processes and everything. To me, it reminds me a lot of what psychologists do for when people have executive functioning disorders like ADHD and ADD. It's very much like make the environment as conducive to, what you're doing as possible, and make it as apparent, and beat yourself over the head with how obvious it is to get yourself to actually do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I think it's a good segue to the next slide as well, Cinthia. I'll pass it on to you.
Yeah,
the environment.
Exactly. Yeah, Trevor, thank you for setting that up for me. So basically, that's one of the things he talked about in the book. And this one really resonated. I love the whole book. I had to do it in little bursts because he throws down so many tips that I have to kind of process them. But this one in particular really resonated with me. He talks about how environment plays a significant role in habit formation. You should design your environment to support your positive habits. Just exactly what you're talking about, Trevor, right? Setting up your desk in a certain way so you can be more effective and focused. And your environment can either enable or hinder your habit development. And this can be in different ways. Like for me, I'm a really slow reader, and I notice when I read at home, the TV's there. I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to put the TV on. So I started, especially when I did the book club, I started going to the park and bringing my book with me. I just started carrying my book around everywhere. And I would just sit on a bench under a shady tree, and I was able to just like whip through that, and now that's where I go. And that is the environment for me. Kind of disconnect from television and other distractions. That works for me. It's going to be different for somebody else. So I think like that was a big plus for me. And then one of the other things we talk about is overcoming setbacks, right? And the ways that you can do that is to say, well, first of all, track your habits, to measure progress. Obviously, use habit tracking as a motivational tool. Be satisfied with the progress, no matter how small. And again, progress, not perfection. Consistency is the most important. And if we go through these, tracking your habits, this isn't like, oh, I missed, it's all over. And trust me, that's conversations I can have with myself, like, oh, I blew it. It's but don't. It's just track them and then just say, okay, if you miss a day, you didn't do exactly what you wanted to for the habit, move on to the next one and then keep tracking. Because if you stay consistent, you're going to continue. That's going to become a habit that you're going to be able to maintain. Habit tracking and whether that be on a piece of paper or on page 7, we have the resources. And again, we're going to give you all have access to this document. Oh my gosh, Maryann had so many tips on like different apps, which came up during our book club sessions, and she just aggregated them all, there. And again, for me, I rather write it down on a piece of paper. I don't want more apps, but some people do what works for you, and that can help you because it logs and your progress, which could be really good. And then again, like, don't expect, for me, a habit that I'll probably never do, or never even try is to quit chocolate. But if I did, I'd be so happy. But if I like,
or coffee.
I'll never give coffee. That will, I couldn't do it. I'm done. But if I had said, hey, I would like to maybe eat less chocolate, right? And then, anyway, even small improvements are improvements. For me, it's chocolate. For somebody else, it's something else. But it's not even a setback. It's just a missed day. Move on. Look forward, not back. But I'm sure it looks like, Kathy, it looks like you had a question on this. What was your thoughts?
I was going back to Cinthia when you were talking about reading, and it's like reading slowly or whatever. I'm finding it sort of difficult to read now. So I got the book on Audible, and I've been doing that more and more. And I listen to the book maybe while I'm doing my stationary bike or whatever, and it's cooking maybe. And it's really helpful. Those are things where I can still concentrate on what I'm hearing. So that might be an option for some people.
Absolutely. I love that you went there, because I am so with you, because during our book club, the Libby app, which I knew nothing about, and now I'm addicted to it. I've consumed like 8 books since book club. Because that's exactly it. It's just like I live in the city, and I walk everywhere, to work, to the park, to the gym, to the store. And I've just got them on all. So I'm just consuming content all the time, which, maybe that's another issue. I don't know, but I like it. Like I'm feeling myself. And being inspired. And you're absolutely right. And this goes back to do it your way. If that's the environment you need, do that. Like, why not? And so anybody else? Because I love that. I love where you went, Kathy. Really do. Anybody else?
I mean, somebody else can come up, but I think I want to just piggyback, and I think that's the key. It's like the identity that you're trying to create, or the identity that you're thinking about, it is your identity. It doesn't, it's not about, like, I think even when we were talking yesterday, I think I used an example. It's like, hey, I can't just say like, I want to be Beyonce. No, I could be like, hey, I want to actually sing, or like
Yep.
become a singer or, you know, performer or whatever. Like that could be the identity that I want to create. So I'm going to have to do me, and I'm going to have to figure out my environment, what works for me. And I think it goes for, even for people, again, back into breaking into CS or whatever. There's so much content, there's so much like things and you know, people are sharing. Take what works for you, make yours, create your environment, and create your habits, because that's going to help you create the identity. Otherwise it's going to be overwhelming. The communication and like all the things that's coming in right now, it could be a lot. It could be quite a bit. So no, that's a great idea.
I think going back to what Cinthia too said also, about that, if you miss a day, just track it and move on. That's the biggest thing that James Clear explains in the book too. Like, don't let a second day get missed, because then it becomes a new habit. Then it's like, oh, I'm the person who misses my habit. Versus if you just miss one day, you move on. It was a roadblock, something came up, you couldn't do it. Oh, well, the next day you do it again. And it's that consistency that leads to the actual change in your life.
Yeah, that's so true, Maryann. And it's like for me, like I'm really into fitness. I like to go to the gym 4 to 5 times a week. And when I travel, it becomes difficult. And I usually choose hotels that have gyms, but sometimes it's not possible. Or even if the hotel has a gym, I'm on vacation, or you know, I'm in business, you know, I can't always go. It's gonna be okay. You know what I mean? Even if I don't go at all, like I'm going to go back home and pick it up again. And as long as you have that mindset, then you will set yourself up for success no matter what.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As long as you pick it back up, right? That's like the hardest part, is then just getting right back to it. But once you have those habits built, it's very easy to jump right back into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not, you're not
because I think
it's,
if you think about it, when you know the identity that you're trying to create,
Yep.
then you know what you're going to need to do to achieve it. Then it's just like kind of like putting those pieces together and working it out. And I think that just makes it kind of like, it's not that I can't achieve it. I'm going to have to put the work in to do it. And I think I think that it becomes easy. And I think Timbra just mentioned something about a question, the framework that he used. I am someone who, I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's going to be part of our breakout. So excited about this. Okay. So anyone else wants to jump on before I, you know, work on the, you know, send you guys in to breakout, share some thoughts or anything, and then we'll kind of explain what we're going to do in the breakout.
Yeah. Does everyone have the notes? They should be in the chat. I can throw them in again.
Yeah, please, if you can.
Yep.
Ashna, I have one little thing that might help.
Sure. Yes.
On that for people that didn't get a chance to read it. Like when he's talking about the zeros, like, oh, I hate getting a 0. But like he did also talk about like it's okay to do less, like maybe than you like originally planned, you know. So like you might have like a degree of success without having like your total success. Like I have a fitness goal where I do like different dances, and my goal is 1 to 4. Like really I'm hoping for the 4, but if I have a day where it's just 1, I can still count that as a not 0 and feel good.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. No,
progress,
I love that.
not perfection. Yes.
Yeah. I think that's what it is. It's like it's the thought that you even, you know, tried. I think that counts, and then you continue to push yourself. And I think for someone like me, consistency, to be honest, like has been a problem for me. Like I start something and to do it for a little bit, and then something happens. I'm either traveling or I'm sick or I'm, you know, whatever, and then it's like okay, I'm back to 0, and then I'm back to kind of trying something new. I think that's been sort of but it's that kind of like, okay, it's been a month, it's been 2 months. Okay, what do I do to keep pushing myself? And I think that's kind of that's the key right there.
I think that's common, Ashna, too, for people to like, I do it too, where I'll pick something up and then it goes by the wayside because I didn't actually have a system in place to continue doing it, or I didn't really want to continue doing it. You know, all the habits I've instilled have been things that I was invested in and wanted to happen, and thought of my identity as that person who does those things. And I feel like that's what's led to the change.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is like we also talked about, it's like along with this, I don't know, we probably don't have this, but you can also create support system. And it's like, you know, whether it's a community, whether it's people that you share it with, like, you know, how some of us are doing habit sharing app, whatever, you know, that create that something of that somebody can hold you accountable for, but you can also hold yourself accountable for. And there's a system. If you can share that with your loved ones, whatever, hey, this is my system, this is what I do, this is what I'm trying to achieve, they can push you for it. And I think that's the key. It's like, don't just keep it in you, share that, create that system, because that's going to help you.
Right. And that's also part of the role of your environment. Like surround yourself. If you're a job seeker, let's say, surround yourself with other job seekers so that you can hold each other accountable to do these things that you have to do when applying for a job, you know, or if you're, you just want to, if you want to work out more, surround yourself with people that go to the gym. If you want to drink less, surround yourself with people who don't drink as often or who don't go, who would rather go for a hike or something. It's just like priming your environment and setting yourself up for success like that.
Yeah, awesome.
I think
All
it's
right,
also
so-
good to remember, sorry, Ashna. I think it's also good to remember that as you grow and change, some habits don't need to stay around.
Yes.
It's okay to let some things go as you grow and change.
Yes.
I love that. I love
Absolutely.
that. That's the key. That's the key. Just because we're used to doing something doesn't necessarily mean that we have to continue to do that. It's, you know, that's the part of evolving and changing and growing.
Right. Because situations do change, right?
Amazing. All right. Okay. So ready to send everyone in, what do we want to do? 3 or 4 people group? Bad at math, as you can see. I'm gonna have to like figure this out a little bit. But okay, let's do,
I would say 4.
I'll do a 4. 4 is probably okay. So 4 I'll do. So what we need to do here. So what's you'll see the doc and you can write in, but basically think about, because you can have multiple identities, but think about a future, you know, a vision. What's the vision of like an identity that you're trying to create of your future self? Pick one. And then you can say like, I am whatever identity. I want to be a yoga practitioner. I want to be whatever. I'm thinking out loud here. Then think about what are the processes that you're going to have to build to attain it. Let's talk about those and share those with each other. And then what new habits do you want to add to your current routine? Like, you know, how would you habit stack them based on to try to fit in to achieve that? To basically, it's an exercise. Pick one habit or pick an identity, pick your process and figure out your, you know, system to get to the outcome. All right, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to send you all into breakout rooms.
Yeah, sorry. What's up, y'all? Lots of exercise talk. I just got back from the gym, which is why I'm not on camera. Some of you know what I look like, some of you don't. It's okay.
It's all good. All good.
So a couple things we talked about in my group. One of the sayings that I try to adhere by, and I'm not perfect, but one thing that I think is helpful, that kind of goes along with what we're talking about today. Someone once told me, start before you're ready. Like accept that like it's going to be awkward, accept that you're going to suck at it, accept that it's going to be hard, and just like start it. You don't have to finish it. It doesn't have to be good. Just start it. And then when it comes to like habits and habit tracking, I do have an app. I do, and I'm going to put it in the chat. The app that I have is a habit tracking app. It's specifically designed for that. I've been using it for about 7 years. For any of you nerds or any of you people who really like games or gamifying things, it's called Habitica. Basically, you play like a fantasy video game, but the way that you level up and get experience and little cosmetics and clothing and little cute things for your character is by doing your habits and doing your to-dos. And you can even join together and like fight monsters and stuff. And the way that you kill them is by doing all of your stuff that you're supposed to be doing.
That's awesome. Timbra had one like that too. Yeah, these are fun. Like the gamified apps make it more fun and motivating for you to continue doing it.
And you can connect with other people who are also using it, and then you're all like linked together. So there's accountability too.
That's amazing.
That is. We have one for our book club called Habit Share, where we're all sharing our habits with each other and we can see if we're doing them or not. And it's awesome. Like having an accountability group kind of forces you to do your habit because
yeah, exactly, 100%.
That's very
and that's
cool.
that's the thing. If you're fighting the monster and someone doesn't do their stuff, you all take damage. So
oh my gosh, that's fun because it makes it accountable for the whole group to have to join together to do it. That's different than the bird, Timbra, which is also amazing. Timbra,
that one sounds cooler than mine.
No,
then it's not just about my identity, it's everybody's identity. You know, we got to push ourselves,
and it's free.
Work together.
And it's free. I love it.
Free.
Awesome.
If it's free, it's for me.
This is awesome. Habitica. I just looked at it. Okay, I'm gonna sign up for this. This is very cool.
That's great. Awesome.
Does anybody else? Yeah, anybody else have any?
Also partial to to-do list, but it's less of a habit tracker, more of a to-do list.
Yep, that was one of our
to-do list is one of ours. Yep. Yeah. Whatever gets you going. I think that's what it is. It's find your system, find your thing that works for you, And I think, I mean, if I guess the one question that comes to my mind is just, I know we all shared a lot of things, and I think that the first question was a lot about, it was personal, and I think it's like, what are you looking to create, or whatever that may be. But think about it now, coming back to, because this is CS office hour at the end of the day. Coming back to bringing it back to customer success, or like, what we do in a day-to-day, like, think about it. Like, do you see yourself using this kind of, just what we just talked about, even in our customer success roles too? And that's something I know, Cinthia, you, me, and Maryann, we've talked about this a little bit before too. And actually we were just playing around creating some examples of like habit stacking based on persona. Like if you're trying to break into CS, or if you're trying to level up your career, or, you're burning out, or, you're burned out of doing like more with less, or less with more, sorry. One or the other, you get the point. Yeah, so I think but think about that from that perspective too. Like, how can you take this and use it at work too? Whether it's just like, hey, I forget to send follow-ups to my customers every single time, and I like, if that's part of becoming a rock star CSM, or whatever that may be, based on the identity. I want to be a great leader. I want to be, by this time I'm going to be a CSM. I'm going to have a job. Think about that identity and what are the things that you're going to have to work on. So quickly, we'll add this document, but it's just a couple of examples like we've put together. I just wanted to share it out there. Maryann, Cinthia, I don't know if you guys want to say anything about this, but just sort of throw, like, it's not a lot. We were just like, putting our thoughts into it, but coming it back to customer success.
And I love that you brought it back to CS, Ashna, because this is a highly personal topic. Yeah. But I think that you're right, particularly if you're in a CS role too. We can't forget about that. There's a lot of job seekers, but there's a lot of people that are like, how do you stay inspired in your role? And I think a lot of times that you could habit stack your own growth. Because I always felt early in my career, I was just like, it's the company's job to train me. And that's correct. But how far are you going to get with that? And how are you going to distinguish yourself as someone that maybe they want to promote or give interesting projects to, and have more freedom to do what you want to do? If you're the person that brings ideas, I guarantee you're going to be the fire that they want to keep around. And if you can execute, and the way that you can do that is creating habits like reading books, by attending webinars, by joining communities, all these different things, sharing ideas with peers. And not only that, like making the habit of even doing informational interviews with peers in CS outside of your company, but making having informational interviews or meeting with people in your company for internal sponsors and mentors. That can really help career and just grow as an individual as well. So lots of ways to kind of apply these tactics to your career.
Absolutely. And these were just examples we thought of to, like, just, you don't have to do all of them, but like maybe picking one or two things that you could stack onto something you're already doing. Like when you sit at your desk, you'll do this. When you like we said earlier, when you have breakfast, you do this, or just a way to stack it onto something you're already doing, so it's less tedious and you're not thinking you're actually working to do something. It's just becomes a habit.
Exactly. Anyone has any thoughts or final thoughts? I would say, I know we're on time, but anything else to share?
Thank you guys for all of your insights. We had a great breakout session.
Great conversation.
Conversation. Yep.
This was,
thanks everybody.
Habit sharing stacking doc in the Slack group. We will put it in, Kimberly. We'll add it. We'll add all the resources and everything. Actually, I think I forgot to bring that slide up. So here, thank you for sharing that. Just gonna bring up, here's the slide. Like, these are all the resources. It's in the slide, and we'll add the doc here as well. The habit sharing sharing doc.
Yep.
Words. I'm gonna add that. We're gonna add that here too. But we have some books that we also we're recommending for, obviously, Atomic Habits. Can't say enough about that. Tiny Habits is also a good one, which I haven't read, but I have it on my to-do list. And so we're gonna do. Cinthia, you want to talk about give and take and maybe impact players real quick?
Yeah, give and take. Adam Grant. I'm such a fan of his work. It's basically just about different personality types. And how you may, being the nice guy, it doesn't always put you last. Many times it puts you first. And impact players. This is a book that was recommended to me by a peer, and I recommend it to everybody. It's so good. It really just talks about your, how to be, essentially how to keep the passion in your job, and how to exceed expectations and really make an impact. The whole point of it is, you can kind of show up to work and do the 9 to 5. That's absolutely fine. But if you really want to go to the next level and grow as a person and as a professional, it's the focus is to be on making an impact in any task that you're doing. And she really goes in deep on how to achieve that. It's a fantastic book. I recommend it to absolutely everybody.
Love it. Love it. And then obviously some of these other resources, 30-day challenge, daily planner, habit tracker. Thanks to Maryann. I mean, this is all 5-minute journal, or you pick one. I mean, it's all here. I'm sure anything that you want to create as an identity, one of this is going to help you achieve it. So it's all here. And we are going to add it in Slack. And so if you can see Slack, you're going to want to just go to CSOH session resources. And in today's session, you'll see all the notes, but it's all those, docs and information and all of it. It's all here. So you can find the slides, you can find the document from today, but also the slides, and the slides has everything in it. Yeah. So yeah, just a reminder.
Also, I was going to say the book club, we have another book coming up that we're reading. That is September 18th is our first meeting. So it's not too late to join. The book is called Wired to Resist. It's what Jan talked about for the month of Summer of Change, basically, by Britt Andriata. It's a great book. So come and join us. This was a fun group of people for our book club where we all get to just share ideas. It's very much like this. Less customer success talk, more just book
more
talk.
Life talks.
More life talk, yeah.
So we all love that. Awesome.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for amazing sessions.
It's great to see you here. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you next time.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Next time.
Thank you.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
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 Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of Success Hour, formerly known as CS Office Hours. We regularly put out new content, so to be the first to know, like this episode, tap that notification bell, hit that subscribe button, and we look forward to seeing you soon.